Hey, hello, and welcome to the Protec Power Hour. This month, we're privileged to have AEMC in the Power Hour with us, Mr. Greg Wong. I'd like to thank you so much for
Thanks,
coming
Tom.
out, taking time out of your travels and all to see us.
Yes, sir.
Now, for those of you out there, obviously, you're very familiar with the AEMC product line as we are at Protec. It makes up a good bit of our inventory, from the insulation resistance test sets, the micro ohm meters, very familiar for the ground or earth testers. But one of the other areas in their product area, which again, I know from a rental standpoint, we can't keep them on the shelf, is the power energy loggers. And the treat that we have today, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're going to give us a sneak peek behind the scenes of a new flagship logger that you guys are going to be introducing to the market. Is that correct?
That's right, Tom. This is the Power Pad 4 8345 Power Quality Analyzer. And this is not quite available yet, but we're looking at a release hopefully in early Q1 of next year.
Okay. So in the spring, we can expect to go ahead, or actually pre-spring, we can expect to see this come out to market. Now, obviously, before the broadcast or anything, we're talking a little bit about the product. And as I mentioned, it's going to be kind of the flagship. So what inspired the birth of this unit? I mean, what's the applications or the user groups that you're really homing in on here?
So the new Power Pad targets the industrial or commercial contractor who is looking for a full-fledged power quality meter without the full-fledged price. This is a Class A meter, so we get some metering quality, sub-metering quality out of it. We're sampling at 512 samples a cycle.
Wow.
So this is twice the sampling rate of our current Power Pad, the 8336. We've included a lot of different features in this, from communications to different logging functions to different transient inrust engines. So there's quite a bit in this instrument.
Communication upgrade. That brings a question to my mind, because again, I'm thinking, in these large industrials and so forth, there's a lot of times where we need to set the equipment up in, maybe not the best environment. We don't necessarily want to be walking around the instrument or going to interrogate the instrument up close and personal. What have you done on the communications to help that situation?
So we built Wi-Fi into the instrument, and I can get directly into the instrument and view the screen live from a laptop at a distance. So that's what I've set up already today. So we can see it on the computer screen here.
So that's actually coming via Wi-Fi?
Straight off of my laptop. Yeah. And what I love about this is it's a direct emulation of what's on the instrument itself. So I'm not looking at an interface that models the instrument. I'm looking at a direct interface controlling the instrument, and I can see all the screens as it would show up on the instrument with just a slight bit of latency, primarily from the communication from the Wi-Fi into my computer. So for instance, I can switch to my phaser here on my computer, and you'll see it pulls it up on the instrument and on the screen simultaneously. As data is coming into the instrument, it's coming into my computer as well too. This makes a great three-phase multimeter at a distance, essentially.
That's a very, very nice feature. I like that. Now, also, obviously, in the industrial environments and so forth, what type of CAT ratings are we looking on this?
So we've upgraded the CAT rating from our previous model, which was a CAT 4 600. We're now at CAT 4 1000 volts at this instrument. So we're at one of those highest CAT ratings that we can get with it.
And obviously, we've got covers and so forth in it. So as far as the dust and water ingress, we're at
IP54. You'll notice everything is covered with a grommet when it's not in use. So it's fairly ingress protected. It's not outdoor rated. That could be in future models. We do have models both in the PEL series and in the Power Pad 3 that are IP67.
Okay.
So we could expect that to come with this model as well too in the future.
Fantastic. Accessories, CTs, and so forth.
So it ships with a new mini flex. It's the MA194. This is our standard probe that you'll see with, very similar to our standard probe rather, that you'll see with our PEL model. But we have a whole host of probes that are going to be available with this instrument. One thing I also want to mention too as well, if you're an owner of AEMC instruments already, or if you're renting them from Protec, which Protec has a ton of our probes, this instrument's going to use our standard probe interface. So we have the same, it is a proprietary connector, but it's the same connector on the PEL. It's the same connector that's also on our current power pad as well too. So if you already have those probes, you're not having to buy new probes.
Always appreciate you protecting our investment.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. The standard voltage leads. I should mention that we have 4 current inputs and 5 voltage inputs here. Pretty standard for power quality instruments of this magnitude. So you're outfitted to do a number of different electrical hookups. Just about anything you run into should be able to be accomplished or logged or monitored with this instrument.
Beautiful. Well, I mean, just on the description and the basic performance specifications, the communication capabilities, it sounds very, very impressive. Let's go for ease of use. Would you like to show me just a simple setup?
Absolutely. So I've got it hooked up now. I've got it hooked up for a 3-phase 4-wire Y setup. But let's say I arrive on site, I get my probe installed. I got everything ready to go. I'm just going to quickly hit the setup button. From this setting, or from this screen rather, I can set up one of 3 different capture modes. We have, 4 now. We have a transient and an inrush mode. Those are both separate now. Before, on our previous power pad, we had to do transient or inrush. Here we can do transient and inrush.
Okay.
Yep, I can do a trend mode recording, and that's going to be your standard record mode that everyone thinks of. When I hook the instrument up, I start it recording. I can select a number of different variables that I want to record, come back, retrieve the instrument, download the data. Now, you mentioned that it's got those communication protocols. If I have this hooked up, I can access that data in real time, and I can pull that file down and go ahead and start that manipulation without having to be on top of the instrument. In that vein, though, I do want to mention our previous power pad had some difficulty with where the SD card was installed. We've improved on that. The SD card's right here, right underneath this grommet. I can drop this down, pull the SD card out, install a new one. Everything is recorded onto the SD card as well too. I think one of the most frustrating things about power quality instruments is you'll see some things will be stored on board, some things will be stored on the card. This instrument, everything is on the card.
Okay.
So I can pull the card out, extract every bit of data off of it. I don't have to have the instrument present. But back to that setup real quick. So once I pulled this up, first off, all of our sensors have an identification resistor in them. So I'm not having to go through and set probes up. So if I'm hooking it up to a PT or CT, I could go through and configure that. But I can see here, I can set up my sensors and ratios. I can make changes to that real quick. Select that and open it up. So I do have a ratio set up in here that's just for my signal generator right now. I get back over to my screen here. Let's talk about the distribution system that I'm hooked up. And this is going to be the most common place we're going to go to start our setup. Everything's color-coded.
And the little hookup guides.
And it's a little hookup guide, right? And I can arrow through here and see different setups. So 3-phase 5-wire, a single 2-phase system. We've even got DC available in here as well too.
You know, that is brilliant because, let's face it, Greg, real men will not open a user's manual.
That's right. That's right. So on that case, the user manual's in the right here. I have a user manual right here built into the instrument. So I don't have to open it. It's already on screen. And of course, AEMC is known for our legendary tech support. So when you do run into a scenario that you can't quite figure out, if you're not sure how to do something correctly, just give us a call. We'd be happy to help you. Our tech support is US based, and we have some of the best tech support agents on the planet.
We love the support you give us, but I will have to say, though, here at Protec, we have don't fret, call Brett.
That's right. That's right. And Protec's always been a great resource for us. And you know, when they run into something they can't figure out, they're going to send it over to us. And it's a collaborative.
Yeah, we've got just a great relationship going back and forth with you guys, from your training, your application support. One of the, great companies to work with.
Absolutely. So other setups that we can do here is I can set my transient inrush mode. I can set my alarm mode. So the alarm mode is a great feature if I'm looking for something very specific. Like let's say let's say something simple like I want to know when my voltage is over 10% on my phases, right?
Mhm.
I can set that, and that way it's not going to record, it's not going to capture anything until that event occurs.
Gotcha.
Right? So sags and swells could be logged this way. If we're going to get into that transient level logging, though, into that sub line cycle stuff, we're going to use that transient engine. But
Mhm.
anything that's going to be in excess of maybe a second or two, we're going to use that alarm mode function. I have energy modes in here too. I can actually apply currency functions into this meter and then get that back in dollars and cents for my customers, which is kind of neat too. And if you have those customers that have peak demand hours,
Right.
that necessarily doesn't really exist here in Texas too much, but in other states where they have peak demand hours, I can set up to 8 currency values for those different hours. So if I've got, 3 different rates that I'm paying over the course of a day, I was just in Arizona, they have that quite a bit. I feel bad for them. I can set those modes though in the instrument and get a report back that shows that. Everything in this instrument is going to be ported out to our legendary data view software. So we're able to view and edit that through the exact same software that all the other AEMC instruments use.
So again, user-friendly, comfortable, familiar platform, with the software. So again, common look, feel functions.
Yep. Other functions that we didn't touch on real quick, I have a snapshot button. So let me flip back over to my RMS values here real quick. Oops, wrong button here. Let me just hit this real quick. If I'm on a screen and I see something that I want to take a picture of real quick and I want to capture all the variables at one time, everything this instrument's recording or viewing at that moment, I have this camera button. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's going to take a picture and it's going to record every variable just like that. It is just an instantaneous snapshot. It's not an actual trend recording. It's going to just take a quick picture of what's happening right there. We've made the screen is a touch screen. And I know I'd said that already, but I can't speak at the power of that because previous models of the power pad, we had to use these tombstone buttons to get through the instrument. We still have those. They're still very, very functional. However, I can just touch the screen to make changes on the instrument and flip through different screens.
Now, will that also work with stylus?
It will, and it's
So
capacitive.
if I am wearing my gloves and so forth.
So it's capacitive, so you should be able to wear gloves now. Your gloves make your fingers kind of big.
That's the biggest problem I have with them is the bulkiness and being fat fingered.
Right. Right. Yeah, but if you didn't have a big pair of cow gloves on and you had something smaller on, it should still work with those gloves because it's a capacitive screen.
Excellent.
So I think I've focused on just about every function in the instrument that I can think of off the top of my head. So I think we captured that pretty well. I do want to mention the PEL though. The PEL.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the flagship for a
Yep.
long time, workhorse of our inventory,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, not going anywhere. So I like to think of this as a power quality light instrument. It doesn't have the same rich capture modes that our power pad does. However, for a trend mode recording, if you're doing one of those NEC load studies, the NEC 220.87, or if you're just wanting to do some type of load study to understand what can I add to this panel or to this location that I'm working on, this is a great instrument. It's kitted well. Protec ships it with a great set of sensors outside of what we normally ship it with. So you get an upgrade automatically working with Protec. You're going to get that power adapter with it as well too. So you're going to be able to phase power this instrument without having to plug it in. And the best feature of it all is that it's got a slim form factor and a bunch of big magnets in the back of it. So it's going to stick inside stuff.
That's probably one of the most attractive features is after we get everything set up, where do I put? On the sidewall.
That's right. That's right. I can lock the instrument out too, so it can't be edited or changed while the recordings occurred. I can apply a password to it. I can lock the screen out as well too, so I can't make any changes to the screen during recording. This is also networkable. This is currently just either USB, Bluetooth, or Ethernet. In the next year or so, you will see a Wi-Fi model of the PEL one.
Really?
The PEL one
okay,
coming out. Yeah.
We're going to be stealing a little bit of the feature set from the big boy here.
Yeah. And we do have some other loggers coming out that are going to have some of the features that are built into the power pad, including the Wi-Fi server, the web server built into this.
Now, again, on the 8345, projected market launch and availability is going to be in the early
Yep.
quarter of the new upcoming year.
Yep.
Okay. Now, one thing that I've always respected with AEMC is will not launch product before it's time, before you guys
That's right.
have thoroughly taken it through your market studies, your beta tests, beta testing, and so forth. So I would imagine that all of the beta testing, alpha and beta testing, all the beta testing has been done, and we've got the same legacy quality coming forth in this as we do with the other products, correct?
That's right. We're not going to put an instrument on the market that hasn't been thoroughly vetted, both through our labs in Dover, New Hampshire, as well as our parent company, which is Chauvin Arnaud in France rather. So this instrument has been through quite a bit of a roll.
It's sometimes a frustration because we
Yes.
want it. We've heard the early tales. We want to see it and everything, but to the credit of your company, will not release until you are comfortable with it and you believe it's ready for the market. So
That's right.
all right, we're gonna have to wait till the first quarter of 2023, but I think we've already got our purchase orders already
That's
in
right.
queue waiting to hit you for
That's right. That's why I'm here.
it.
So very good. Keep AEMC in mind for ground test instruments. We have a great clamp on. I have our 6472 back here as well. Protec keeps all that in
The
stock.
ground testers have been a long time favorite of mine. Have used them personally on job sites and everything quite a bit. And again, even in this area, you guys are very innovative with the ground testers. Everything from the stakeless and the clamp-ons through your 3-terminal, 4-terminal units. And also, the one that intrigues me the most is the ones that you came out for the tower market.
That's right. So this instrument is part of that collection of instruments. That's the 6474 tower test or ground flex field kit. It encompasses the 6474, which is a set of high gain amplifiers, with our 6472 ground resistance tester, which is this instrument right here. First off, this is a multi-function ground test instrument, so I can do everything from soil resistivity, fault 3 and 4 pole follow potential, step in touch potential for the utility customers out there, and I do have a clamp method that I can use with this as well.
Oh, okay. So the attached rod clamp on
That's
method.
right. Yes. Yeah. So I can plug 2 clamps into this and be able to perform a clamp on ground resistance test without having to install stakes. There is another clamp method called the selective follow potential method as well too, which is great if you want very precise readings on a system with multi-point grounding. So if you have multiple rods in the ground and you want to know where the bad rod is or a problem with that system, that selective follow potential is the way to go with that. But getting back to our tower testers. So for our utility customers out there or contractors that are working on the footing or needing to understand the footing resistance of a transmission tower or also a communications tower. It's a little known fact that we can use this on just an individual communication tower as well as a transmission tower without disconnecting the static overhead, without sitting a bucket truck with a bunch of guys out there and a whole crew and the cost of it. I can get the individual footing resistance of that tower, both individual legs on a lattice tower or tripole, or just a monopole, which is obviously the newest style of towers.
I mean, the cost savings of not sending that truck and everything out has virtually bought you your unit.
It's a massive savings. It's an incredibly accurate method. We can verify the bond of the static overhead as well too, how well that's working for us, and the influence of the other towers down the line. So this is a great set of instruments. Ships in a big giant case as well too. I shouldn't say big giant; it's much smaller than some of your other instruments. But it ships in a big case that's very ruggedized that can be taken out to a transmission tower, and that testing can be performed with ease. And it takes about 15 minutes to do it, to perform that test.
Yeah, and don't set the case short because I like an adequate size case so that when I unpack from the way the factory had all of my accessories wrapped up, I can never get them back in that pristine and stuff. So I actually prefer a company that gives me adequate spacing so that after I unpack it, I can roll things back up without damaging them and get them back in the case.
That's right.
You know, I don't have that precision that your factory workers have in order to roll
I don't either. Don't worry. So I can never get our our amplexes racked up exactly like they come out, and the voltage leads on most of them, forget it. So I will mention though, on that case, we ship with that case, with that instrument, a set of caddies, real caddies, because you've got those 500-foot
Yes,
reels.
I've seen your real caddies.
So much easier.
Yes.
It makes it so much easier. So
yeah, often made the joke, being in the test and measurement for going on 30 plus odd years or whatever, dealing with test leads, particularly when doing the earth testing, dealing with, the current inject leads and the potential leads and everything. I always made the joke. I said, hey, if I ever take up skydiving, if I fall out of an aircraft without a parachute, throw me a line cord, is bound to get tangled on something before I hit the ground. That's my philosophy on leads. They're going to get tangled on something.
Yeah. So we have everything reeled up very well. We actually sell some smaller reels too, for your smaller leads as well.
Right.
But, we include the zip ties, the Velcro zip ties with a lot of our stuff. But that's the technician life. Unfortunately, is unwinding the reels the leads that we've messed up because we just threw it in the bag when we took off.
Exactly. Now, some exciting new product and everything obviously coming out. Once again, very innovative. That we're seeing coming in the class. Technically, still part of the PAL line, or are we separating from?
Yeah, so we call this our power quality and logging line. The power pad is its own separate instrument. Right now, we have the 8333, which is a junior version of the power pad. The 8336, which is our current power pad, will be a little bit more of a legacy product. We're still going to support that instrument, obviously, for a very long time. Okay. It kind of steps back into more of a value setting where you may not need 512 samples a cycle. 256 is still going to be great. You still have that transient capture. You still have that inrush capture. So it's still a great instrument. Doesn't have the communication protocols, doesn't have the touchscreen on it. So a little bit more limited, but the value is still obviously there. Right. Still going to be supporting that instrument for quite a while. And then our PEL series, that's never going to go away. And that's going to be, while it's still within that measurement, or that logging world, that power quality world, not really a power quality instrument necessarily. That being said, harmonics out to the 50th. We've got power factor built into it, logging 128 samples a cycle, aggregated into 1 second chunks. So sags and swells are still very much something that we can capture with this instrument. The use cases on the PEL grow by the day. We see different applications for this all the time. One of my favorite applications, two of them I'll mention, is Marriott International was using this in San Antonio and saved a whole bunch of money by figuring out where they were wasting energy. So from an efficiency perspective, they installed this on panels and they said, why are we consuming electricity in these areas at this time? So they were able to go back and revise some processes to save a ton of money right before COVID too, which probably helped out.
Right.
And then the other one is we see this installed in wastewater lift stations. And they're monitoring the incoming, right? Because the utilities are providing, something in excess of 10% over voltage sometimes, and they need to know that. They need to be able to report that back to the utility that I'm having this issue. So have several use cases of it being used with lift stations for that purpose. But you can take those applications and kind of just multiply them across multiple different industries to see the value of installing a PEL.
Very, very nice. Now, we talked about the technical support and everything that AEMC brings to the table, which, again, you guys are fantastic. I know Brett and I, we appreciate, because occasionally we do get stumped on questions, and, having a good backup team at the OEM is always nice to have. You guys still doing the grounding webinars and the power quality webinars? I
just finished up a class in Arizona. That's where I literally just got back from last night. So we're looking forward to, we have a webinar coming up. I should mention that in early December.
Okay.
So if you're interested in our Understanding Ground Resistance webinar, you can find information on our website about that. That is CTD NETA certified. So you can get those continuing education credits from NETA for that class. It also qualifies for PE credits in some states as well too. But we will be teaching a full series of that class next year in 2023 throughout the US. We can also teach that as a private class as well too. So if there's anybody out there interested in having us come out, we just need a minimum of 5 people, and we could perform that training for you in person.
That's wonderful. Again, I like the total solution offering.
Mhm.
We can meet with you ahead of the purchase, consult, understand your application, fit you with the right instrument. We can bring our team out, whether it be via the webinar or the training class, and make sure that you get the maximum benefit out of your investment. Again, you guys are a class act.
Thank you.
Always love working with you.
One of my favorite aspects of working for AEMC is they treat all their customers exactly the same. So if you buy a $350 megometer, or if you buy this Class A power pad, we're going to give you the exact same service no matter what. So if you call in, you need calibration, you need repair, you need any type of assistance at all, don't ever worry that you ever just bought one PEL from us or just rented a PEL. We're going to take care of you either way.
So you're telling me that Brett and I, the wonderful treatment that you give us,
We're going to give it to everybody. I'm sorry.
We're not special.
Yeah. Well, maybe you guys are special. No, everybody's special.
Very good. Well, I definitely appreciate everything that you brought out, showed us. Thank you for the sneak peek behind the scenes of what we can expect coming out in the new year. And definitely, obviously you've been traveling and hitting the bricks pretty hard this week. So, on your Friday, rather than unpacking your bag and settling in to, swing by our new studios here at Protec, we definitely appreciate and thank you. Thank you so much for all the support that your company brings us.
Absolutely. Nowhere else I'd rather be.